When we yell clear prop, we'll have to check both in front of and behind the aircraft because that's where the engines are on Carenado's Cessna Skymaster 337. Join me as we fly a tech route from Orbx's Catalina to LatinVFR's San Diego. Let's hop into the pilot seat and get started. I love Orbx's Catalina. The entire island is breathtaking, and I feel like I'm taking a vacation every time I get to do a flight from here. Carenado Skymaster is a really unique GA aircraft with a dual engine design that should be a lot of fun to fly. Similar to Just Flight, Carenado gives you an iPad that lets you configure the cockpit and turn on third-party integrations like the GTN 750, which I've got enabled for this flight. So let's run through the startup checklist. First things first, we'll go to the overhead and make sure that both of our fuel tanks are set to green. Then we'll head down here and get the battery on with the alternator. Go over here and check our fuel levels. Those both look good. Now we'll head back over here, get our beacon on, and we've got the window opened. Now we'll head over to the throttle quadrant and get the front and rear mixture, both set to full. We're going to crack the throttle a little bit here. Now we'll turn on both fuel pumps. Head back over to the throttle quadrant and advance the throttle. Now we're actually looking for a gallons per hour fuel flow, but I notice it doesn't register here on the gauge, so I'm just going to bring it back. Turn off the fuel pumps. Clear prop. Looks good. We'll head down here to our front magneto and ignition. Alright, that's looking good, so we'll give it a minute to stabilize. Then we'll head to our rear magneto and turn on that engine. I have to say it's taking a little getting used to that one engine is on the front and one engine is behind the cabin. Alright, we'll turn our rear magneto on now. And we've got ignition on the rear engine. That looks good, so now we can get on our nav light, our pitot heat. We'll adjust the throttle so that it's between 800 to 1000 RPM. And the avionics switch is on the door panel here next to the circuit breakers, so we'll turn that on. See the GTN 750 powering up. Underneath that is a radar unit, so we'll turn that into standby. Then next we'll head over to our transponder and get that into standby as well. Okay, we've got our door closed, so we can close our window. That's much better, a lot quieter. Now we can get all of our comm frequencies set up and our nav frequencies, and I will take you through the flight brief. Before we do that though, let's have a look at those two awesome payware airports that we're flying to. Catalina by Orbx is a work of art. I've flown out of here in other videos, and you can see a more in-depth review in those videos. I'll link it here in case you want to check it out. But we'll do a quick flyby, and as you go through here, you can just see that the detail keeps on coming. Everything from murals to people to vehicles, plants, you name it, signage. It is all there, and you can just hop in the drone camera and do a virtual tour around both the airport and the island. As we come down here further to the airport, again you can see the detail that goes into the people and the murals, and you really feel like you're virtually visiting Catalina when you walk around the Orbx airport. San Diego by LatinVFR, equally impressive, tons of detail around the airport. Excellent airport for flying jets out of, but it also has a really nice general aviation section with signature that we will be landing at. I'm running with AIG traffic today, so you can see some real liveries like the Southwest jet coming up here to pull up to its gate. So hopefully we'll see some of that real world traffic as we come in for our landing. For our flight, we are flying a tech route, so if you go to the ZLA ARTCC webpage and type in KAVX and KSAN, and then click search, you can find the tech routes. At the bottom is the legend, so based on the speed and type of aircraft you're flying are the routes that are available to you. We are green here based on our speed, so we can fly either of these two routes. They are both similar. The one we're going to fly is the Santa Catalina Oceanside Mission Bay route at 5,000 feet. That's what's defined in the tech route. The other one, which is specific for KSAN, dumps you out at Sargs, but Sargs is west of Mission Bay out over the water. So if we were coming in out over the water, that would make more sense. We, however, are planning on doing the Sweetwater visual approach. I'll talk about that in a minute. So the Mission Bay transition is more appropriate for us. Okay, if we hop into Navigraph, we can see our route. So we are taking off, flying direct to Catalina VOR, joining the Victor 208 airway to Oceanside, then Victor 203 airway to Mission Bay. We're flying IFR, and Catalina is an untowered airport, so how do we get out of Catalina if there's no controller? So, if you open up the map for Catalina, at the bottom you can see the obstacle departure procedure, and that tells us to fly runway heading until we get to an altitude of 2,300, and then turn to our first waypoint, which is the Catalina VOR. It's a perfectly clear day, so we're going to shoot for a visual approach, and that approach is the Sweetwater visual for runway 27. So we're going to get off of our airway just north of Mission Bay, head to our first waypoint, and essentially fly an extended pattern, keeping north of waypoints such as Qualcomm Stadium, Lake Murray, turning, following just past Sweetwater Reservoir, and then turning on to final. Should be a lot of great visual references, and we should have an awesome view coming right in over the city for runway 27. And then, because we're coming in on runway 27, if we bring up the airport diagram, we can anticipate where we want to get off. So we're coming in from the right side of the map here, and signature is that little block to the northeast side there. So we're going to shoot for any of these turns based on how long we land. SoCal approach. Cessna 359 Golf Charlie on the ground at Catalina, ready to pick up our IFR to San Diego. Cleared to San Diego as filed, maintain 5,000, departure 127.4, squawk 3414, and hold for release, November 359 Golf Charlie. Void if not off in 15 minutes, change to advisory approved, report airborne 127.4, November 359 Golf Charlie. Alright, we can switch over to CTAF now, and we'll stay on CTAF until we call them once airborne. Catalina traffic, Cessna 359 Golf Charlie, taxi, runway 22, Catalina. Alright, everything looks clear. Let's get going. So we are listening to liveatc.net in the background, and this is streaming John Wayne approach, which is the clearest approach that I could find on liveatc. Should give us plenty of immersion for our flight. I love all the aircraft around here, including the little helicopter off to our right. And straight ahead we've got the windsock, so that's good. The wind's still coming from the direction we want it to be able to take off on runway 22. I'm running with live time and live ATC and live traffic, so this is what it's like at Catalina right now, which is pretty cool. I'm going to sign up here. Let's stop and read it for a second. And it says that we have to use CTAF, so we are good. We'll continue on to the hold short lines, and then we'll do a quick run-up. Mag left. And we'll watch for the drop. Catalina traffic, Cessna 359 Golf Charlie, departing runway 22, straight out Catalina. Alright, here we go. So I really like the visibility in this aircraft. It's nothing but glass all around you, which is nice. The brakes are definitely a bit finicky, aggressive, I would say finicky. I find myself just gingerly trying to tap them, and it'll come to a complete halt sometimes. It also can be a little squirrely on the rudder, especially on the ground. and rotate. Alright, that was actually nice and smooth. Not too bad. We'll get back on center line here. So we are going to fly runway heading until we get up to 2,300. We've got a positive rate, so we'll get our gear up here. And in a few seconds, we'll pull up our flaps. So that's the obstacle departure procedure. Right, so we have no controller here to keep us from banging into anything. Now, fortunately, it's a nice clear day. But if it weren't, you'd need a way to get from the runway up to altitude to contact SoCal approach to get under radar guidance. So this is that way. Alright, so we are just passing 2,300 now, which means that we are free to make our turn. So we're going to turn and fly direct to the Santa Catalina VOR. Okay, you could see the VOR right off of our wing there, so we're going to come around and intercept the Victor 208 radial and keep climbing until we hit 5,000. Okay, let's feather our prop a bit and get the mixture all sorted out so that we get everything in the green zones for our RPM and manifold pressure. We're looking good. Let's sit back and enjoy that awesome flight simulator scenery. Alright, that was a lot of fun. So if you were looking at my instrument gauges on final approach to KSAN, you'll notice I was dive bombing the runway to come in there. So I had some pretty high vertical speeds trying to lose altitude. And I find that I just need to get used to flying faster aircraft. Trying to shed all of my speed and get everything right takes some adjusting to when you're used to flying slower aircraft like Cessna Skyhawks or 152. But it was a really beautiful approach, and it was a pretty good landing, although I'm sure the ground controller cursed me out because I landed really long, missed the last turn off to the right, which is where signature is, so I had to turn off to the left, which meant I had to go all the way back around and then cross the runway to get back to signature. But live and learn. I'll keep flying it and I'll get better at it. So if you enjoy content like this, be sure to click that like button, leave me a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, as always, for flying along with me, and stay tuned for further flight adventures.